In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White, where we are coloring conversations on the canvas of America. Tonight, our special guest is Mr. Chase Ransom. Chase Ransom is a Division II student athlete and emerging sports business professional based in Columbia, South Carolina, and Loganville, Georgia. As a college athlete, he successfully secured multiple NIL deals without the backing of a big name school, massive following, or national spotlight. Instead, he's built his brand from the ground up by learning how to position his value, approach companies with confidence, and turn his name into a business. Now he's focused on helping other athletes, especially those from smaller schools like D2, D3, NAIA, and JUCO to do the same. Through step by step guidance, real life examples, and authentic storytelling, he's making NIL education more accessible to athletes who often get overlooked. Beyond his NIL work, Chase is passionate about leadership, branding, and building a career in athletic administration. His long term goal is to become an athletic director using his experience to create opportunities for future student athletes on and off the field. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chase Ransom.
Hi, how are you?
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Hey, was there anything you'd like to add to your bio before we get into the show?
The only thing I'd like to add is now that I'm currently a grad assistant for the Benedict College track and field team, so I'm furthering my education while getting my master's.
Well, congratulations to you for that. And I'm sure that there's a lot of work that goes along with that. So as we get into the show, what I like to start with is I like to start with your entrepreneurial spirit. And what I like is for people to get an understanding of your business mindset and the NIL journey. Can you tell us what sparked your interest in entrepreneurship as a student athlete?
So in June of 2021, NIL laws were passed where athletes could start to make money off of their name. In 2021 is the year I entered college. Now, you look at the athletes that were getting the deals, and it was more so of the top athletes at schools like Georgia, Alabama. They're more so going after the name of the school that's attached to the athlete rather than the athlete themselves. So I see athletes getting these deals. I see athletes getting these deals, and I'm like, hey, how can I do the same thing that they're doing? So I went into research. How do I get deals? And I'm looking up everything. I'm researching, and I start to get a little hang of it. My first deal it was a wristband company. It might have not been any money. It was a affiliate link. So if I sold something, I got a percentage of that sale rather than the schools like the student athletes at Alabama and Georgia. They're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars. Even though my first deal was small, I knew God had bigger things in store for me. So I wasn't upset with what I got. I wasn't down on myself. I got it, and I promoted it to the best of my ability. I made a couple sales. I probably made like $20 to start off with, being honest. But that really sparked a drive in me to want more. Like It wasn't even to the fact where I was just wanting the money. It was the fact to just say, hey, even though I'm a Division 2 athlete and y'all are Division 1, we put in the same amount of work as y'all, and I can do the same thing that you guys can do. So over the time, I did more research. I made those connections from my first connection at Lifestyle Bands all the way up to me partnering with CVS and McDonald's and Stanley. So it really just the the part that sparked the drive in me, seeing others do it, and me feeling like they wanted to count the underrepresented schools out.
Mm. So, so can you tell us, with that first NIL deal, what did you learn from that?
I learned that I am who I say I am, meaning you have to tell your story. I learned that these companies aren't, I mean, they are going after, the number of followers you have and things like that, but more so, they're going after your story because you're a walking billboard. So you are your own brand. So I learned that about myself. I didn't have all this, my brand, my own brand. I didn't have this at that time. But I started to learn that, okay, I'm a walking billboard. So the same way I'm promoting these companies, why am I not pushing as hard to promote myself to get to other companies? Because there's no one that's going to do it for me. I have to do it myself. So what I really learned was I learned how to position myself and brand myself because there wasn't companies at first knocking at my door saying, "Hey, can you do a partnership with us?" I had to go and take the steps to reach out to them. So I learned to brand myself.
Wow. So, and after when I think about, my time from, being a former athlete, but also understanding sports, because now that is big business. And in knowing, then during the time when I came up, there was no such as, well, supposedly, quote unquote, there was no such as players being paid, even though
Right.
it's been one of those things that's been, in some of these conferences, like, like the SEC and so forth, where, this is how they're able to maintain their standard. And so, when it actually broke through, that, the ruling that was, passed, that now players can now be paid for their likeness. Now, I want you to know that this is a second passing, so I don't know if you know when this first originally happened, because a lot of people don't know that Ed O'Bannon originally won that lawsuit against the NCAA, but he still wasn't paid. None of those athletes. So now that we're here in this 21st century, and we got players that are, athletes such as yourself that are now being paid, can you tell us what is the difference now that you're being paid for your likeness by still having to be under the thumb of a school? What is the difference?
The difference, so for me, I wouldn't say it's a much of a big difference, but I know the difference that you're talking about, and I can speak on that. So at the Division 1 level, it's a real big difference because okay, I might not be making as much as the Division 1 schools, but at the Division 1 level, now that you're getting paid all these thousands and millions of dollars, people used to say it was a business, but now it's really a business because you're getting paid.
Yeah.
Schools can directly now pay you to come to their school. So a coach can recruit you. He can be doing the best job, but say Alabama comes in and say, "Hey, we're going to give you $100,000 to come play for us." You're going to take that deal. But
Mhm.
since you got that $100,000, you owe us something. So I
Mhm.
feel like it's athletes are under, I would say, more stress at the D1 level with the NIL laws now changing. Even though they're getting paid, it's a different atmosphere, I would say.
So help us to understand the situation, like, just an understanding perspective. Like, the guy that was, the, starting quarterback for the Georgia Bulldogs last year decided not to go into the NFL draft, to forego that and play his final season, but go in the portal, head down to the University of Miami of Florida, where they're paying him $6 million for this season. Explain to us, how did that work, and how does that supposedly make make this situation for him much more beneficial as well as the University of Miami?
So that university also gets that branding from that athlete. So
Mhm,
them paying him $6 million, they're
mhm,
gonna make that back off of his name alone. So that $6 million, honestly, it's a lot of money, but off
mhm,
ticket revenue and off sales and off jersey sales, they're gonna make that back. He took that route, getting that $6 million, getting to live a college experience, and also instead of going straight into the draft and maybe being the backup coming on
mhm.
an NFL team, he can go to another college team and still get paid. He could still pay bills back home. He could still take care of his family if he has one. So it's more so of a financial freedom thing for college athletes.
Mhm. So now in your situation, being Division 2, that now that you say now you're back there, and you're helping the school by doing some things based on your experience. Um, what are the benefits for that situation that's actually helping your brand and helping your name as you're getting your master's degree? How is that helping?
So with all the connections I've made, because
Mhm,
my father always told me it's not what you know, it's who you know. And as I've gotten older, I started to really realize that. And he told me to make as many connections as I can in college because college is a place where you can meet someone and you never know they could be the owner of $1 million, $1 billion company when you get older. And you might know that person. That might be your boss one day, or he might be the person who knows somebody to get you somewhere.
mhm.
So with the connections that I've made, I've been able to build my resume so that when I do get done with my master's program and I plan to go get another master's degree when I'm done, that I have a resume built up to where even if my personal brand doesn't make it as far as I would want to go, I still have a backup plan. You always need a backup plan. My dad always told me, "Hey, I know you want to be a," because everybody when they're a kid, they want to be a professional athlete. But hey, what's your backup plan? Well,
Right.
I have a backup plan. It's this. And through my personal brand and I'm meeting all these people, I'm making the connections. I'm making long-lasting connections. I'm not just working with the companies and saying, "Hey, I'm doing the deal. I got paid. W- There we go." Like I'm not just kicking them to the curb. It's not about the money for me. At first it was, but then as I went on, I'm not making that much money at the Division 2 level. So it was more so, okay, let me use this to my advantage and make the connections that will be everlasting.
So, what challenges did you face building a brand without a major platform?
So, uh, financial problems was a bigger thing for me and visibility. Financial problems, as in not saying like we're struggling horribly bad, but as an individual, a college student, college students don't really have full-time jobs or anything like that. So me trying to promote my brand and do drives and make my own gear so I can promote myself, get banners and things, those things cost. Getting your LLC, getting all your certifications, those things aren't free. So like as a college athlete, just trying to better myself, I would say the financial aspect and then the visibility. Being that I am a smaller athlete, when I was trying to look for these deals and reaching out to these companies. A lot of the companies wouldn't reach back. I remember to get my first NIL deal, I drafted up a letter. I sent it to over 200 companies, and the one that reached back was the wristband company, Lifestyle Bands. So at first it was hard getting noticed by these brands, and I would say more so on the Division 2 level, when a Division 2 athlete gets a brand deal, I feel as if they work harder to meet the deliverables that the brand that they're doing the work with wants. Rather than at the big Division 1 level, they'll simply go on their story and post a picture with it. Rather at the Division 2 level, we're actually putting in real work. Like we get this opportunity and we do not want to mess it up. So you get a brand deal and you want to exceed the expectations. So you're going to go above and beyond what a normal person would do at the Division 1 level to meet that company's needs.
So, how do you define your value when pitching to companies?
I'd have found my value by I tell like when I have a meeting with them and they ask my story, I know my story. So like I said earlier, or companies nowadays, they are going after the numbers, but they're more so going after the story behind the athlete. If you have a story to pitch and you can have people to buy into your story rather than you scrolling on Instagram and someone just seeing an ad of a video that an athlete's doing, they might scroll past it. But if that ad or that promotional video has a story tied to it and it's deep rooted, people are more so to pay attention to it. It's not the fact that, oh, I get 100,000 views and maybe 1,000 likes at a Division 1 level, rather than me at the Division 2 level. Say if I got 10,000 views, but 1,000 people liked it, that average of likes to view ratio is higher for me because people are actually interacting, people are actually commenting and engaging with the post rather than just you're famous, so people are automatically going to see it.
So then, as you're continuing to turn your name into a brand, and your brand is actually growing, can you tell us what is it about you building your brand that you felt like you can give back to others or help others grow their brands to do the similar things that you're doing?
So what the main thing I do tell athletes is to, like I said, know your story. Knowing your story is it's huge. Know your worth. You know, I would say if I could look back and tell myself something, I
Mhm.
wouldn't say I wouldn't take that first deal because I would. But as I went on and I continued to take the smaller deals at first, at some point you have to know your worth. You know, you have to
Mhm.
know that you put in the same amount of work that as the next person, and sometimes you have to know when to say no. So what I would say to some athletes now is to build a brand, have your three pillars that you stand on, no matter if that's faith, community, or anything like that. I know I stand on a lot of community stuff. I do a bunch of give backs. I'm currently planning one. I'm going to give back to the needy, and I'm going to give body care products and things like that, like body wipes, hand sanitizer, water, toothbrush, toothpaste, things like that. So just know what you want to do and stand on who you say you are.
So, what advice would you give to athletes at small schools trying to monetize their name? You got to
Stay
give them some advice.
consistent.
What would you give
Stay
them?
consistent with your posting. Stay true to yourself. Clean up your Instagrams, clean up your social medias. Let your bio reflect who you are because people don't know that in the social media realm, their bio is like their resume. That's the first thing someone sees when they click on your profile. And if
Mhm.
it's a company, they're going to read it. So who are you in your bio? You having things posted on your page like guns, drugs, alcohol, things like that, or are you trying to motivate others? What are you trying to do? Are you really standing on the things that you said that you stand for, like community, faith, and other things like that? Or are you saying that just to portray a picture to somebody and not really doing it?
Mm. So, how do you balance business with academics and athletics?
So, balancing business with athletics, I would say being an athlete actually helped me because I'm not an athlete anymore. But when I first started, being an athlete helped me. Being that I was on the track team, every meet we went to was another chance for me to market to some other athlete that was there. At track meets, there's hundreds of athletes. I'm talking there's about 15 schools there. Each school has a boys team and a females team. It consists of about 35 to 40 athletes on each team. So they're traveling with 80 student athletes with 20 teams there. That's a lot of people. So balancing that, I feel like after I'm done competing, now it's time to market. Like I'm not gonna come to somebody and just say, "Hey, subscribe to my page or do this, do this, do this." I'm gonna ask them, "Hey, you ever thought about like doing NIL?" Because I'm currently pursuing NIL deals and things, and I think you would be a great fit just by seeing how you walk around, how you carry yourself. You know, approach them as a person. So balance, but with my social life, balancing it, everybody on campus knows me for doing the NIL thing, and I always try to help the other student athletes on our campus. So I feel like once you do what you love and I'm giving back and I like what I do, it doesn't more so seem as business. It just seems like my lifestyle.
So, what's one mistake you made early on that shaped your approach today?
One mistake I made early on was not staying consistent in my posting. You know, if I posted something, I would only post when I got a brand deal. But when you're first starting out and you're not getting as many brand deals as you thought you would be getting starting out, if you're only posting when you get them, you're not posting that much. So what I got towards doing is, finding other things rather than brand deals to film videos on, to post on my social media that still align with what I'm doing, no matter if it's a training video or a rehab video, or even just a story time of how I got to college athletics, how I got to Benedict College. You know, you have to find something, you have to find your niche on what you want to create content on.
So, what's your proudest entrepreneurial moment so far?
Honestly, I feel like my proudest entrepreneur moment was when I officially got my LLC and I got my booklist made. Just making my family proud and seeing the smile on my mom's face and my dad being real proud of me and things like that. And the the love I get from my family when I do the things I love to do. And then I would say my second one was when I did my give back, my back to school giveaway. Back in my hometown in Loganville, Georgia, Walton County. Just giving back to the community that raised me, that helped raise me, because I know how it is growing up. Your parents might not have all the money in the world, but they're still there for you. They still care for you and everything. Someone just to give a helping hand. As a kid, you don't really recognize how much it truly means. But as I got older, and I feel like the parents were more appreciative of the things I was doing for the community than the kids. And I'm starting to realize that and just seeing the smile on other people's faces, man.
Mm. Well, I want to tell you that just as you've done that, I got to say that that's something that shows a lot of integrity and a lot of character, and it speaks volumes to you as being the individual that you are, especially as young as you are, that you are realizing that building your community and being an example for the community, it means so much. And so that that's also one of the things I think that people should understand and know more about who you are, because if you're able to do this, then just think about some of the people that have come before you, or people that are a little bit older than you are now, that have not thought, not one iota, about what it takes to build back a community. That's a really good thing, and I'm really proud of you as well, and I'm happy that you're here on the show to share this story.
Thank you, sir.
So, how do you stay motivated when the spotlight isn't on you?
The way I stay motivated is just by loving what I do, man. Uh, you know, the spotlight wasn't always on me. I was always an overlooked athlete. I would say, in high school, I thought I was going to college to play football. So, my mind was football, football, football. I wasn't getting the attention I thought I deserved or the scholarship offers I thought I deserved in football. I was going to get one to a Division I school, and then COVID struck, and they pulled it away. They took it back. So like I feel like I was always overlooked, and the spotlight was never on me. So just continuing to work to be in that spotlight, you know. So I found a new sport, track and field. I don't want to say it, but I guess I'll say it. Thanks to my sister. I know she's gonna have a kick out of that one. Thanks to my sister, I started doing track and field because she was a thrower as well and was in the band at Savannah State.
Mhm.
So once I started doing that, I just always wanted to find something that I was great at. And and when I found it, I wanted to keep working to be the best. So I just continue to work, even if the spotlight's not on me, I know God has bigger things in store for me. And as long as I continue on my path, that I will reach what He has destined for me.
So, what's your long-term vision for your brand and business?
My long term goal, excuse me, for my brand and business is when I become an athletic director, I want to be athletic director at a underserved in an underserved community at one of these schools. I want to give back to the kids that wouldn't normally have these opportunities. I want to put them in front of people that can truly change their lives. All it takes is one person to speak to you to change your life. So once I become an athletic director, I'm going to use my brand because NIL laws are changing. They're starting to move towards high schools. So I'm going to use my brand to teach to the underserved community and teach them how they can start being an entrepreneur earlier than we normally would. So once they do that, they'll be a step ahead of others, or just right even with them, because normally we are behind in this era. Um, so I want to just use my platform to motivate others and put them in front of the people that I was never put in front of.
Oh, wow. So, just as an overall here, as we're talking about your entrepreneur journey, what is that one thing that you could say to any of these up and coming athletes or the ones that are out there right now? What is the one thing that you would say to them that's important to starting this NIL deal?
Prompt you a letter, make your analytics, look at your analytics, prompt a letter, know your story, write it down. You got to have it when you have a plan, it comes alive when you write it down. Take day-to-day steps to reaching your plan. Set small term goals. Don't set long-term goals. Well, set long-term goals, but don't try to reach it in one day. It's step by step. It's not going to happen fast. It's not going to happen overnight. So just stay dedicated. I know it might not come easy, it might not come fast, but stay dedicated. If you stay dedicated, it will come. Those who stay motivated and keep going will reach it.
Let's move over to the work you do in your social media marketing. And what I want to do is I want people to understand you and your digital strategy and your branding insights. So, can you tell us how did you learn to market yourself on social media?
So I would say I learned to market myself from my sister. She was a mass comm major, and she knew a lot about that. And then also when I got to college, I ran into a guy in one of my classes. He came to be a guest speaker. Normally, people aren't even listening in college to the guest speaker, but I was tuned in. His name was Timothy F. Bryson. He was the director of the Mogul platform for athletes. So once I got in connection with him and we started talking, I got his LinkedIn. We connected. He really showed me the ropes. He was like, I was a college athlete. I stopped being a college athlete, and it's crazy to say. It's funny to say, but he told me he was like, I just like to drink beer, and I was like, what does that have to do with anything though? He was like, so what I like to do, that's what I like to do. So I'm going to promote other beer companies when I go to bars or anything like that, and hopefully one of these bars or one of these places will see it. I'm gonna reach a new audience that I didn't have before. So you have to know your audience and connect with your audience. So he told me that, I was like, okay, I don't know how I'm gonna do that. I don't drink beer or anything, but I'm gonna take it for what it is, and I'm gonna try it myself. So
Mhm.
my whole thing was I like sports performance. So I would aim towards training videos, workout videos, things like that. What protein powder I use, or this and that. And I would just stay on my path. Don't try to be like anybody else. I stayed on my path, and over time, I started growing my social media. Growing. Once you find something that works, even if people call you corny, lame, whatever they want to call you, you stick to it. You grind it out. They can say what they want about you. You're posting every day on social media. You're posting all these reels and everything else. Keep posting. Stay consistent. Stay to it. If one thing worked, try it again. It might work the second time. If it works the second time, it might work the third time. Switch it up a little bit, but stay to course. Keep growing. As long as you're seeing growth or consistency, that's all that matters. Because with the the thing with consistency, all it takes is one spike. If you can stay consistent at one number, one of these times it's gonna jump. And when it jumps, you see why it did. And then you just stick to it. You gotta just figure out what's gonna work and what's not gonna work.
So, what platforms have you been most effective on for your branding?
For my branding, I would say I was most effective on Instagram, but my social media marketing goes all the way back to my freshman year of high school, where TikTok first became popular. I was always a guy who wanted to, I wanted to try to be famous or whatever. So when TikTok became popular, I was like, let me get on TikTok. Me and my friends, we found, like I said, find something that works, and then when it peaks, you see why it peaked. Me and my friends, we did that. We ended up gaining. I went up to 75,000 followers on TikTok in less than 2 months. And my friend along with me went to 65,000. So when we found what worked, we just used it to our advantage. Then, yeah, so we just started honestly just doing what we were doing. Find the trend, stick to it, and we were growing. So TikTok for sure was my most effective one.
So, how do you create content that feels authentic and strategic?
So my authentic content creation just comes from honestly just keep when I keep doing it, it just feels natural. People ask me on campus, Chase, how do you film video so fast? Because when you're not trying to force it and you're telling your personal story, no one knows you like you know you. You don't have to look up who you are if you know yourself and you know your story and you know what you're trying to portray, and you know the message that you're trying to get out. Only you know that. So with when the way I plan my videos out though is, say if I'm promoting a protein, I'm gonna make a script for it, of course. In my script, I'm gonna do the deliverables I have to do for the company and what they wanted in the contract. But also put your own spin on it so where it kind of relates to you. So the way I do it, it's small but it's very effective. My logo I have behind me. At the end of every video, I put it at the end of every video. And there's like a little sound that I have. It's like a punching sound with my Mr. and my NIL. So there's a dot between, Mr. dot NIL. At the end of every video, I have Mr. Then the dot comes in and it sounds like a punch. That throws my little spin on it because people now know when I post a video, at the end of the video, that sound is coming. It might be small to some, but it's very effective because brands notice this. They notice the small things you do to try to brand yourself. Because if you put the effort towards branding yourself, they will trust that you will put the efforts towards branding them as well.
Mm. That's a real interesting concept. And in just thinking about that, that's not only you can help me out with this, but that sounds like not only is it reinforcing you as for your brand, but that's also reinforcing your business side as well, because what that's saying is you're not bringing yourself along, you're also bringing them along to the party.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Oh, wow.
And then also when you start working with these companies and things like that, you may get photographers or videographers that say, "Hey, let me shoot your next promo for you for free."
Mhm.
So you're getting it free. They're getting free exposure because more than likely, if they film it for you, take the picture for you, they're going to be mentioned somewhere in that. So if you're doing a brand deal with McDonald's and they film it for you, now their name is tied to McDonald's. So you're making connections each and every way.
Oh, wow. So, what role does storytelling play in your digital presence?
Storytelling is huge. Storytelling is huge. Like I say, I've said it multiple times, you just have to know your story because brands are not more so only buying the followers or the likes, or you're so famous, but they're also buying into your story. One popular brand I work with, I would say, is Hughes BOA. It stands for Heaven Utilizes Every Shade, Black Owned Apparel. So their whole message is their message is your message. And when the owner first said that to me, I was like, "What do you mean by that?" He was like, "We want you to be you, natural, authentic, and just tell your story." Because nowadays, ad promotion is getting a little tougher, especially for upcoming businesses. So when you're partnering with them, they don't want it to be more so, "Oh, I'm scrolling on social media and I see an ad." No, they want it to be like "Oh, this athlete's doing a day in the life, or this athlete's doing this person's doing this. Let me actually tune in." And it so happens to be an ad. They don't want it to be just they don't want it to be just plain paper. They want to have some scribbles on it or whatever. Make it you. Make it how you would design it.
Well, yeah, that's actually cool, but that's also that sounds like that takes a lot of detail and a lot of planning to actually plan the concept. So when it comes to the concepts that you use in your social media marketing, how do you come up with those concepts? How do you strategize for those?
The way I strategize for them is, honestly, it's a lot of sitting down and just thinking. I'll go days and just think and write down ideas. So I sit down for maybe a day and I write down a bunch of ideas that I have. It doesn't have to be for one video. I just sit there every day, write down about 10 ideas. What video I could do, how it would look, what would I do in the video? Do I want to make it funny? Do I want to make it informational? You know, I would say, over this last break that I had from school is when I really started to dive deep into my storytelling and like who I am. Because more so when I was first doing the NIL thing, I was trying to be more business like and make it like an ad. But as I went on, I was starting to learn that I need to tell my story, because if I just continue to tell the other person's story, I won't grow. No one will know my name. So who am I? I'm going to tell my story through my videos. So planning it out, sitting down, journaling, just making a plan. Talk with your brother, talk with your sister. If you ask my parents or our siblings, I'm talking all day. That's what they say. You never shut up. I'm always trying to be innovative. I'm always trying to figure out what's next, because I can't just stay stationary. I have to keep growing. So just sitting down, making a plan, write it out. My mom always tells me, write it out, make a vision board. What you want to do, if you write it down, it's gonna come true. Stick to it.
So let me just ask you this, and you can tell me if I'm kind of like, as I'm trying to understand, conceptually, when you're doing that. So let's just say you're planning, your next video. In your next video, let's say, the wristband company that you're talking about. So you're doing your thing, you're telling your story in your video, but what people see is the wristband. Is that kind of like how that goes? And what you're doing is the intricate part of your brand, what you're doing, but you're wearing this wristband. Is that kind of
Yes,
like
sir.
how that goes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How do you handle the pressure to go viral or chase trends?
So I'll start with the chasing trends. Hopping on a trend is important.
Mhm.
A trend doesn't have to be you changing your story, though. A trend could be a trending song. You play it in the background of your video. Or a trend could be a trending type of clothing. Like right now, younger people are starting to wear oversized jeans and oversized shirts. That will catch the eye of many viewers that are scrolling on TikTok, scrolling on Instagram, on Snapchat, YouTube, wherever they're at. And what was the first thing you said?
Um, to go viral.
To go viral. The pressure on me to go viral, it's not how it used to be. When I first started out on TikTok and things like that, like I said, I gained 75,000 followers in 2 months. So after I gained my first, I'd say 20,000, I kind of went on a decline, I'd say, in growth,
Mhm.
or it was at a stay still. So I put a lot of pressure on myself to push out random videos, just everything, just anything and everything. But that wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to work because I wasn't sticking to who I am and what my audience that I've already gained. They were, if you join my channel or you follow me because of one particular thing and I switched it up, you probably wouldn't want to continue to follow because I didn't follow for this reason. So I had to stick to myself. So the pressure, it was there originally, but then after time, blowing up was not on my mind. It was more so the change I could make in the community and the change I could bring to college athletics to level the field between HBCUs and PWIs. So I want to give back. I want to, because the gap is growing. Every day the gap is growing, and every day, day and day, we're being left behind. So blowing up on Instagram or going viral or gaining a million followers is not on my mind. It's just about how many people I can touch with my gift and help along my path.
Wow. What's your approach to engaging with followers and building community?
So engaging with followers is very important. So if someone comments on your video or likes your post, if someone likes your post, why not go like theirs? If someone comments on your video, respond to their comment. Make it feel like y'all are having a real conversation, I'd like to say. If someone says, if I post a workout video and someone says, "Hey, I like your shoes," you can say, "Thanks. I got them from this place," or something else. Engage with your followers. Engagement is big. Engagement drives more views. So the more I started to learn, the more comments that you have, the more your engagement rate goes up and the more views you will get because comments are actually more important than likes. So engaging with your comments will bring that viewer back to your video because they'll get an alert on their phone that says, "Hey, this person replied to your comment." So not only did you get the one view from them viewing it the first time and commenting, but you also get the second view because they came back because they saw somebody reply to their comment. So it's really analytical, and you just have to think about it. Would you rather get one view from a person, or would you rather get two? And if you can get two, how do you get two? You have to engage with the person.
Right. Oh wow. You know, social media is fantastical in many many ways. And just as you explaining that, and when you get the thought process of, okay, so there is really a method to this madness. So, it sounds like what you're saying though is, as you get followers and people are liking and they're writing comments, that as you respond to those comments, it's basically like having a separate kind of dialogue that's a very personal way that keeps them more and more engaged.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, how do you measure success in your social media campaigns?
So the way I measure success is simply by, you know, how many accounts did it reach? I'm not looking more so how many views it got
Mhm.
because, like I said, one person can view it twice. So the views don't more so matter to me. They matter, but they more so don't matter to me than the actual accounts reach number. And then when you look at your analytics, you can see how many accounts it reached that follow you and how many accounts it reached that doesn't follow you. That doesn't follow you is what you're looking for. You're looking for to expand your community and to reach people that you have not reached yet. To hit the explore page or the for you page on TikTok, they will call it. You know, on the for you page on TikTok, those are people you can scroll up there and see people you do not follow.
Mhm.
And you can also in your analytics, you can see how many people clicked your profile from the for you page or from the explore page. So I go to my analytics and I just break it all.
Wow. Now, I just wrote a little note there down because I'm not quite into social media, and understanding the analytics like the way you just explained. But I do notice that on a lot of my accounts that I do see where it says accounts reached.
Yes.
And it's kind of like I see that, but it's subconsciously I just see it and I don't see it. So
Right.
now I'm making a note, but I need to actually start making more notes of that and making sure that I'm paying attention to that.
It's very
Wow, that,
important.
that
Yeah.
that's really interesting. What tools or apps do you use to stay organized and consistent?
So to stay organized, I would say I use Google Docs, Google Sheets. I use Google Sheets to track my analytics and see the dates, the times I posted these videos. I log them. So in my Excel sheet, I say the date, what video I posted, the time I posted, and how many accounts reached. So looking at the times you post is very important. It's very important because there's an average amount of time. Well, Instagram, TikTok, it averages out the time that most of your followers are online and most of the people that are in your community, but they might not be following you, but they're in the same community as you, meaning they have basically the same explore page as you. It tells you the times that they're most active. And my time is between the times of 4 to 6 and 9 to 11. I'm more of a younger crowd, so they're up pretty late. So tracking the times is very important. And what was your other question? Part of that question?
Just how you stay organized and consistent.
So consistency, the apps I use, that's what it was. So the apps I use, like I said, Excel and Canva. Canva is very important. You make layouts for things that you are going to post in the future or posting today. Stay on top of it. If you post today, you should also have two videos that you're going to post in the next 3 days. So when I film videos, I don't just film one at a time. I film three videos. I film one for the next day. So I'm not going to post the day I film. I film one for the next day. I film one for 2 days later, and I keep one in reserve. The one in reserve is always very important because say if you go next week or 2 weeks without filming a video, you go back in your reserve so you can stay consistent. So you get a video from your reserve that you film, you can just upload it. You have to do no work. You don't have to do anything but press a button. So that's very important. And also I use Meta Business Quest, Meta Business Suite, excuse me, where that you can schedule your posts. So if you forget to post, it's gonna post it for you. You have your caption in there. You can put the time you want to post it. It posts in Facebook and it posts on Instagram at the same time. You can run both of your pages through the suite. So that is a very crucial app that I do use.
Oh boy, look at you teaching social media. I don't know if I'll be able to keep up with that, but I've got to say that making some of these notes is going to be important because, I mean, this is really, really interesting to know that you've actually got this is like a subculture to culture.
Yeah,
And so, with that being said, I mean, it's like a whole nother universe. So, with this universe and knowing what it's capable of, do you think that there'll ever get to be a point where there's like just mastery of this? Because it seems like it's so much and it seems like it's ever changing.
for sure. You definitely, in the world of social media, you definitely have to stay up to date. If you get behind on things, it's easy to fall behind. So what I would say, attention to detail, you have to really focus. You have to stay on social media a lot. You have to follow the trends. If you're not on social media for 3 weeks, the trends could change and you could be behind. And now your account is stagnant. You're not growing. You're not reaching a new audience because there's new trends, there's new sounds, there's new waves of everything on social media. Social media is changing every day, and the world is changing every day. So staying up to date is very crucial in the social media realm.
So, how do you help other athletes build their digital brand?
So what I personally do is I have a meeting with the athlete. I sit down one on one. And I tell them, hey, I'm gonna put you in front of these people. We're gonna have meetings with these other brands that I've made my connections with, so I can put you right in front of the owners of these massive brands. I'm also going to make you your own logo. Your logo you can put like I do on the end of my videos. It's very catchy. I'll put you can put those on the end of your videos. I make you your own merch. I make you your polos. I make you hoodies. I make you banners. So you wear out and you be your own walking billboard.
Oh, wow. So, what's one post or campaign that really resonated with your audience?
One poster, one campaign I did that resonated with my audience. I would say when I did my give back drive, you know, so I focus my social media around community presence and giving back. For those who don't know, I am a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, and we do multiple giveaways and givebacks into our community and everything like that. So that's one of the pillars I really do stand on is, uplifting our community. Why grow and not bring up someone with you? So that give back video, I feel like, yeah, the second one I did, the first one was small, not that many people came, but the second one I did, it really resonated with my audience. They really loved it and it did numbers. So yeah, just staying true to yourself and doing what you say you're gonna do and being who you say you are.
So, let's transition over to your work in community outreach. And here I would like for people to understand more about your impact beyond the field. Why is community outreach important to you as an athlete and entrepreneur?
So as an athlete is very important to me because I can remember at a young age when I saw those high school guys, when I'm in elementary school, I saw those high school guys or those college guys come around. That's really motivating. Like, you would be so excited as a kid to see a college athlete, no matter even if you knew who they were or not. They could be a small athlete, but your teacher says, hey, we have a college athlete coming to speak to y'all today. Everybody's tuned in, everybody's listening. That inspires the youth. Seeing with the youth thing that somebody of their skin tone made it out and is being successful and is in the college realm doing sports, that can really motivate someone to stay in school. And when I go speak to kids at local high schools or elementary schools and even middle schools, I tell them, hey, grades come first. You know, grades are going to take you farther than athletics ever will. Because even if one day you get to college and you don't want to play sports anymore and your athletic scholarship is gone, if you came to school with a 4.0, guess what? Your school's paid for. You don't have to worry. Your mom doesn't have to worry. No one has to worry about how you're going to get school paid for. That takes the load off your back. That takes the stress off of you. So academics come first and just stay in the books.
Mhm. So, what kinds of outreach programs have you been involved in?
Can you repeat that?
What kinds of outreach programs have you been involved in?
Okay. So I helped out with the Boys and Girls Club, the local Boys and Girls Club. That's also where I did my giveaway back at home. We go to high school, go to college events through my fraternity, which is we go to high schools or we go to middle schools, elementary schools, and we speak to students about the importance of having a plan, staying on top of your grades and things of that nature. We also host back to school drives, annual back to school drives, and we do things in the community just all the time.
Mm. So, how do you connect with youth who see you as a role model?
So the way I like to connect with them is finding out what they like. So sometimes you have to put yourself back in your younger self's mindset. If I was in their shoes, what would I be listening for? What would grab my eye? So for me to motivate the youth, it has to be there has to be a incentive for them. They have to win a prize or something for them to listen. Candy involved, a gift card, a Xbox gift card, Fortnite gift card, something like that. You just have to find how to connect with them and what resonates in their brain and what will stick with them when you're speaking. And if you once you do that, you'll be successful in whatever you do.
So, what's one moment in community work that deeply moved you?
Hmm. I would like to say I was uh I was a part of Real Men Read, where we go to elementary schools and we read to elementary school classes. And I was reading in this one class, and it this moment always just stuck with me, and it keeps me motivated day to day. When I was reading this class, and they were like, "So you play?" One kid asked a question because at the end I said, "Y'all have any questions?" And he just asked. He was like, "So are you in the NFL? You look like you're a superstar." Just how seeing how kids viewed me at the time and view college athletes, it just kept me motivated, because kids will tell the truth. You know that, like, kids will they won't keep no, they won't hide anything, they're gonna tell the truth. And, just to hear that the youth viewed me as someone older and, you know, professional, it just keeps me motivated, just seeing that they look up to me. Keeps me motivated day to day.
Oh. So, how do you use your platform to uplift others?
Using my platform to uplift others. So I I make graphic designs for the athletes that are in my community that are at the underrepresented schools. I have a couple that go to my alma mater, Benedict College. Angelic Carter is one of the most notable athletes that I do have. She's a volleyball player for the Benedict College team. She was also named first team All SIAC preseason awards. So what I do is, once I put these athletes in front of these companies, they get the deals. You know, I make them a graphic design through my Canva app. Like I said, it was one of the important apps that I use for graphic designing. I'll make them a flyer, congratulations to this athlete. I got their name, I have their Instagram handle, their email, so where other companies can reach out to them. And I post it on my social media. I joint post with them. I send it out to all the other companies I've worked with. I say, hey, this athlete is doing great work. Look into her. Look into him. They're doing great work and they're really shining. So I use my platform by highlighting the athletes, no matter if it's athlete of the week, athlete of the day, thrower of the day, things like that. Even the athletes that I'm coaching now, I uplift them. I've currently made a new Instagram account not new. I made an Instagram account for the throwers at Benedict College because I would say at my school, we did not have the spotlight that I thought we deserved. So when I stepped into the role of graduate assistant, that's one thing that I knew I wanted to do. I wanted to create an account for the throwers because I was a college thrower. I wanted to create an account for them because I knew they were deserving of the same spotlight that other schools were getting and other throwers at D1s, or it doesn't matter if you're D1, D2, D3, and at JUCO. You deserve the spotlight because you put in the same work as others. So I promote all my athletes through social media to the best of my ability.
So, for those that might not know, can you explain to us what is a thrower?
So a thrower, we got shot put, hammer, discus, javelin, things of that nature. So the shot put is a 16-pound ball. It's real heavy. You throw it as far as you can. That's the simplest terms that I can put it. Everything you throw as far as you can. The farther you throw it, the better you are. And it's more about technique than strength. Most throwers are bigger dudes, bigger females, but it's not so much more how strong you are. You have to be strong, don't get me wrong, but it's really technical. It's harder than it looks. Some people might say, hey, I can do that. I can throw that 50 feet. Yeah, but if you actually tried it, it might go about 1 foot. But that technique is really important. And that's another thing, me giving back my knowledge on that sport in general, throwing. When I was a senior in college, while competing, I was also coaching at a college, while balancing my brand. So for me to balance all of that and trying to graduate in my last semester last year. It was a lot, I would say, but I got it done. I coached those guys down. I was coaching down at Voorhees College down in Denmark, South Carolina. And I led the team. I wouldn't say led the team. There was the head coach, Jeffrey Hughes, one of my frat brothers. But I helped lead the team to a HBCU national championship. Yes, sir. And they also won the HBCU UAC conference championship. And the throwers, I had a freshman place first in the hammer throw. That was my specialty. So I had to coach him up real good in that area. He plays first in the hammer, and I was just so proud of him, man. I wasn't able to make that meet because I had my own. I was competing at the same time. But I was just so proud of him when they sent me their accomplishments. I had one go first, third, and fourth. And to see freshmen do this and just to know that they learned from me, like they did not know how to throw hammer at all before they came to high school or before they came to college, because you could not throw hammer in high school unless you were with a club. And Voorhees is the HBCU, so the likelihood of them having the money to join clubs, HBCU student athletes to join clubs for a track, it's slim to none. So just knowing that I taught them how to do their thing, see them do great things, it was amazing. And I also got to compete against them in a couple meets. I had to play athlete and coach at the same time, and it's like, that's one thing I struggled with at first. So I was asking my head coach, like, hey, how do I balance this? Like, I'm in a meet, I'm trying to beat everybody, but I also got to coach them at the same time. I can't really, like, how do I focus and be in my own zone while also bringing up my athletes? But after a while, I figured it out, and we competed against each other at the HBCU National Championship. Their team overall won, but of course, in the individual event, I beat them, sadly.
Oh, wow. I'm sure that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
What challenges do you see in underserved athletic communities?
So media exposure is a big thing, especially at these HBCUs. We have the tools to expose people on media, expose not in a bad way, expose, get them exposure and things like that. We have the tools. All it takes is a phone. That's all it takes. A phone and a camera. And each phone has a camera nowadays. We're just simply not doing it. I feel like at HBCUs, the only sports that get the real media exposure is the football teams. But what about your other athletes? If you promote your other athletes the same way you do your football teams, your school gains more traction. It might not be, track and field might not get as much likes or as much shares, as much views as the football team gets, but each view matters. That's a view that maybe somebody never knew about your school, and now they know. You never know, that person could be a huge donor for your school or for that athletic program that you missed out on because we're simply not advertising and promoting for our student athletes. We're also not trying to, well, I wouldn't say every school, but most schools are not giving, most HBCUs are not giving NIL education classes. That was one thing in my senior research project that I went over. When I presented my senior research project, they asked, are there any changes you would like to see in the sport management program? And the one big thing I was saying was give these athletes, because most sport management students are athletes. So give these athletes a class that they would actually benefit from. Don't give these, I'm not saying don't, but most classes students go to and they're like, oh, I got to go to class. I want students to have a class where they're excited to go to class. They hate to miss a day. If they have an NIL education class, a class that's teaching an athlete how to make money off their name, they'll be mad at themselves if they miss that class.
Yeah. How do you collaborate with schools, nonprofits, or local leaders?
So the way I collaborate with local leaders, well, for example, my drive I have coming up, I'm currently looking for people in my community to collaborate with to help promote our giving back that we're going to do for the needy. So the way I would do this is I go on social media. I say, hey, we're looking for partners to collaborate with us on this community event. If interested, email me, DM me here, things like that. A closed mouth doesn't get fed. So if you don't reach out to people, they're never going to know what you're looking for or what you need or if you need anything. So and I use my connections to the best of my ability. You know, the brands I've worked with, I even reach out to them if they want to donate or if they know people or if they want to even give some of their items so I can promote. They get something out of that. I get something out of that as well. You know, like Hughes BOA, they gave me a couple book bags so I can give back. That gets their brand out there. That also helps me out in my giving back.
So, with this event that you're talking about doing your thing with this time, um, like I guess maybe I'll talk with you about that. I guess maybe at a later time because I definitely would like to know about the date and the time of your event, and I could definitely help you promote that.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.
Um, what's your vision for expanding your outreach work?
My vision for expanding, I feel like one thing I have to work on doing is getting in front. I actually spoke with the director of my master's program today. We had a one-on-one meeting and she was talking about how I should get in front of these local high schools instead of always just promoting on social media. I need to get in person with these people. You know, I need to have human physical interaction with these people and see them and be in front of these student athletes. She told me that the easiest time to do this is while I'm in college. And at first I was confused on why she said that. But then when she broke it down, basically she was saying schools are more likely to help college students when they're promoting things like this and they're trying to give back to the community rather than someone who's older. And I was still a little confused, but then she broke it down even more. Like, you know, older people, it might look like they're just, hey, let me come speak to your kids and you pay me this. They're money hungry. You're in college, you're young, you have that drive. If you go and try to speak at these high schools while you're still in college, they're gonna look at that and be like, wow, this man's doing great things. He at a young age we have no problem with helping them out. But a lot of people, when they get older and they try to speak at these places, they get denied because it's more of a, like I said, they're just looking for money. They're not really trying to have a impact on the community. So she told me while I'm young, I just gotta get out and get in front of these people because as I get in front of these people in person, that makes you more connections.
How do you balance personal growth with community responsibility?
Mm. So the way I would balance that is just I feel like it could for me it goes hand in hand. You know, my whole like I say, you stand on your pillars, and one thing I stand on is community. So that's instilled in me. I know I love to give back to the community. So my personal life, you know, that's my personal life. I love giving back. I love helping other people. I'm always a helping hand whenever somebody needs help. And lifting up the community is just I feel it comes natural to me. You know, if anytime an opportunity presents itself where, hey, we're going to donate jackets to a homeless shelter or we're going to do this, I'm always willing to do it and it's not work for me. You know, it's just day-to-day life and it's something I really enjoy to do. I love making other people smile. I love seeing that what I'm doing is making a difference in my community even though I might not get the spotlight for it, sometimes, like I said earlier, it's not about the spotlight. It's about just actually making an impact.
So, what legacy do you hope to leave in the communities you serve?
I hope to leave a legacy of I want just people to know me as the guy that always helped others. You know, the guy that lifted up his community. And even if people don't know me as anything or want to recognize me for what I do, I'm still gonna do it day in and day out. I'm gonna be great day in and day out. You know, I honestly don't look for the recognition more to say. I just want to make that impact, you know, make someone else's life a little bit easier. Make someone like I just want to level the playing field.
And so, also when I reached out and we chatted, I told you that we do Black History 365. And I asked you, who was the most influential person in your life and career in Black history? And you told me it was your father. Can you tell us why is your father the most influential figure in your life and career?
I would say my dad is the most influential person in my life and in my career because just seeing his background and where he came from, we didn't our family never came from money. We never came from we're not I'm not saying we're rich now, but we came he was born in Brownsville, New York, the projects, and seeing just how far he came and the things he went through in life to get to where he is now. I feel like, he always says, if I don't leave you, because unfortunately, life comes to an end one day. He always reminds me, I'm not always going to be here, but what I'm going to do while I'm here is make sure that you're going to be better off than me. So I strive day to day to try to just be great, try to meet that standard, try to meet that expectation. So when the time does come, I will be good, and I could say that my dad left a legacy and that we're gonna keep moving on, because even my kids, I want them to be greater than me. I want them to be Each generation just has to keep getting better. We have to grow and keep moving on. And he really just inspires me, man, the way, how he brought his whole sister, brothers, everybody down from New York, out of that environment, brought them to Georgia, and just he was that trailblazer. He went to college on a hope and a dream on a basketball scholarship. First one to go to college. Trial and error. So he always tells me, if I got a problem, he always says, "You'll figure it out," because that's what he had to do. Figure it out. There was no telephones back then where you could just, no mobile phones. Figure it out. So that's one thing I do stand on, that he reminds me day and day. Figure it out.
So, what lessons did he teach you about leadership and resilience?
So leadership, everybody, he taught me that, look, everybody has their own style of leadership. You have to find your style of leadership. Don't try to be anybody that you're not. Be who you are. But within who you are, you will find your leadership. And I feel like I learned my leadership under him, because growing up, my life was always revolved around sports. So he was always my coach. He was always, and he always told me there was a time and place for everything. Sometimes I feel like, as a father in his eyes, he was still learning as he got older, because we're all human. He didn't have that father figure to tell him right from wrong. So, those times where he asked me, hey, am I doing a good job? And I'm just like, yeah, man, like, you're doing great. You're my dad. Like, you're doing everything I would expect a dad to do. I don't know any better anyway. So, but you're doing great. So his leadership style is just, yeah, man, I just admire it truly. I learned my leadership from him, and everything he does day to day, the way he works, how he grinds, how he just gets up day to day, every day, and just keeps working. He always trying to be better, always pushing me to be better. And there was never a day where I was needy of something. He was always figure it out. So that really motivates me.
How did he shape your understanding of Black history and identity?
So my identity comes, that's a big thing. You know, if people don't know, my name is Chase Ransom, and not gonna say we learn, but our last name is very important to us. We would say, because it goes all the way back to my grandma. It was
Mhm.
one time where my last name was spelled wrong on one of my little basketball warm ups. My dad told me, "You're not wearing it." Everybody else wearing theirs. I'm out here just in my jersey while everybody, in warm ups. I can't wear mine, because that is your identity. That is your name. Even though some might say, "Oh, it's just a misspelled letter," that
Mhm.
is you. So don't let anybody ever play with your name, your family's name. That is your name. Your name is gonna go on forever. And I was younger when he said that, but now I'm making money off of my name. So my
Yes.
name is my brand. So why would I want my brand to not align with who I am?
Yeah.
So identity is huge in my family. That last name carries a lot of weight.
Oh wow. You see, that's what rearing was like when we was coming up. That name, do not mess up my name.
Yeah,
Don't mess up my name.
it's serious. It's serious.
um, what does black fatherhood mean to you in today's world?
To me, in today's world, I want to be a father one day. I want to give a kid everything my father gave to me. A lot of my friends don't have their dads in their lives, and when we sit down and we have those conversations, a lot of things I can't relate to with my friends. I try to help them through the situations, but it's just a lot of things I can't personally relate to because my father was there. And hearing the pain through my friends' stories and things like that, I just don't want to. Being a father means a lot. You know, I wouldn't want to leave a human out here without their father. Their father is the head of the house. Their father is the leader. Their father is the protector. So being a father and fatherhood in today's day of world, for me personally, means a lot.
Wow. You said something that I'm more than sure that has resonated with more than three-quarters of this audience. And that is because, believe it or not, as a black father, a lot of black fathers don't get the just due or the flowers that he deserves because of a stigma that
That's huge.
mainstream media throws down to our communities in general. And
Mhm.
so when you hear, young men such as yourself that can speak up and talk about the relationship and the things that your father is doing and has done, that means a whole bit. I mean, that speaks volumes. I mean, that's like in an echo chamber. It's like it's out there. That's
Yeah,
what people need to hear because there are more black fathers that are there that people just don't realize.
there
And
are.
yeah, and to you as you're speaking to your father is one of those as a perfect example of being there.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
So how do you carry his legacy into your work and relationships?
Into my work and relationships. So I would say I carry it by. Hmm, my dad is a talker. So those like when I was it's crazy, like everything comes full circle once you start getting older. Like it's just crazy. When I was younger, I'm like, we would go to a store or something and he would be talking to people. I'm like, why is he always talking to people? I said, can we just leave the store? Can we, he always talking. My mom says all the time, he always talking to somebody. You know where your dad at? I'm like, yeah. But then as I got older, bringing that into my workforce and what I do now, that's a part of who I am. Closed mouth doesn't get fed. These
Right.
brands were not going to come knocking at my door. I had to open my mouth and speak first. That I get that from my father. He's, like I said, a talker. So like that, just growing up around him and him doing that and him always saying, closed mouth don't get fed. And talking to people gonna take you a long way. But as a young kid, I wasn't thinking that. I was like, yo, can we just get out the store and go home? But then I got older and it really started to resonate within me.
Hmm. What historical figures did your father introduce you to growing up?
Historical figures, you know, I would say the Martin Luther Kings, the Malcolm X's, the people like that. I remember one time we went to the Martin Luther King Museum and we went to his house that he lived in. And at a young age, I wasn't really thinking much of it. But now I look back, he was trying to put the knowledge in my head that, there are great black leaders. You know, even though when you turn on the news, you might not see people that look like you, or when you look at, even I know within my research right now, I'm talking about the percentage of black athletic directors, which I aspire to be. Only 13% of athletic directors in today's world are African American. So with him putting these figures in my brain and instilling that in me. It just shows that don't ever count yourself out. Your voice is huge. Speak up for what you know is right. Never just sit back and watch wrong things go on. You have a voice, you're going to use it. And that's something big that I learned from the people he instilled in me at a young age.
So, how do you honor his influence in your entrepreneurial journey?
So the way I honor his influences, he is a part of my story. So when I tell these companies and these brands my story, I tell them he is in that story. He's the one who started my athletic career. He played college athletics at Elizabeth City State University. He was a basketball player, and just he put me in the he surrounded me with sports growing up. You know, Even though I might have not known I liked sports at the time, when he first put me in a sport, I met so many of my close friends today. They're I met them at a young age through my first ever football team, my first ever basketball teams, and him coaching and everything like that. It's just a part of the story. You got to know your story and where you come from.
What's one story about your father that still guides you today?
Let's see. Story that guides me is the story on how he arrived on his campus. So he arrived with he came from a big city, New York, down
Mhm.
to Elizabeth City, North Carolina. There's nothing there. It's the country. He said he arrived at a bus station. Coach picked him up, dropped him off at his dorm. And then he said he didn't see a student for about 3 weeks. He thought he was the only person on campus. Then he's walking around campus one day and he runs into this guy. So happened to be, not your technical uncle, but so happened to be my uncle now.
Mhm.
So just him telling me on how like he met these people in college and now they were having fun in college, whatever. Them his boys back in college, and now I'm older. These are my so-called uncles, and the connections you make in college, and every connection can be vital. You just have to surround yourself with the right people. So surrounding yourself with the right people is something he always told me. I didn't really notice it until I got older, but when I look back in high school and middle school, he didn't let me hang out with certain people. If I hung out with them, if I went to their house, he knew their parents. He knew they came from great upbringing. He didn't want me around the other people. And sometimes I would ask him, like I was in middle school or elementary school, like, why can't I go to his house or why can't I go to their house? But when I look back, it was a reason I couldn't go to that person's house. And I'm glad that he raised me that way. So making the right correct connections and surrounding yourself with the right crowd is something he's instilled with me since day one. Even though I might have not known it back then, when I got older, I focused on surrounding myself with people who I wouldn't say were better than me, but always pushed me to be better. I don't want nobody around me who is just stagnant or happy where they're at right now. I want people that are always go getters because if I see them doing something and I'm just sitting back chilling, it's gonna motivate me. Hey, let me open my computer. Let me do some work. How can I make a positive day and turn it around?
So, how do you hope to be that kind of influence for others?
You know, I I, I just I would say I do what I can. Uh, Everybody's not gonna listen. Some stuff it'll go in one ear out the other. But what I can do is when I teach these courses, the part I emphasize the most and a lot is cleaning up your social media. That's huge because when you clean up your social media, it's like I said, your social media is like your social resume. It's like a resume with videos. Because most resumes are just words. But if a researcher or a college coach, being that I'm a college coach now, I know how that recruiting process goes. So when I speak to these athletes, I know I know from firsthand experience, coaches actually do go and look at your social media. When I was younger, I would think, ain't nobody going to your social media and looking at my page. But now I'm at this stage and I'm around the age of I'm not saying I'm around the age of the high school athletes, but I'm not in the older generation, so I can connect with them more. So I'm telling them, hey, look, what you post is actually important. Like, you might not think it is, but it is. So take social media seriously. It can be a great thing and it can be a bad thing. But let's make it a great thing and use it to our advantage.
So, final question. What message do you want young black men to hear from your story?
I want them to hear never count yourself out. Uh always never count yourself out. Keep grinding to be who you want to be. You know, no one else has the final say so. The only final say so is within God, you know? So you keep working no matter if the odds are stacked against you, no matter who you're lined up against. Because you can make a way for yourself just how others did.
So, just in closing, what are some other words of wisdom and encouragement you'd like for our audience to hear from you? How they can connect with you on social media, your website, all of those good things.
So last thing I would say is just stay consistent in whatever you're doing. Even if whoever's watching this, even if you're not a college athlete, even if you don't want to do social media, whatever you're doing, stay consistent. You know, even if because times weren't always easy with my upbringing for my social media content. You know, it was times where I was low, it was times where I was high. It was, just stay consistent with what you're doing because your breakthrough is gonna come. And if you want to connect with me on anything, my name is Chase Ransom, once again, the owner of Mr. NIO Marketing Group LLC. You can find me on LinkedIn at Chase Ransom or on Instagram at official.che1. That's official.chae and the number one. And you can also search Mr. NIL.
So, I'd like to thank you for spending this time with us and conducting this interview that I think shows that there is more than hope. As we look at young men such as yourself that are making differences in many other ways than what would be like just a regular normal thing. And it's one of those things that it adds to, as I said earlier, it adds to the integrity and the character of you as an individual, but it also shows that when you are putting your mind to doing the things that you want to do, that you are accomplishing those things and you are being those things. Those
Yes,
things are very important.
yes, sir.
So for those of you that are watching on all 8 of our channels that we're streaming live, I definitely appreciate you for watching this show tonight. For those of you, especially that are watching on the YouTube channels, if you have not yet subscribed and enabled all the notifications, I would appreciate the support if you would do so, please. Because as you get the opportunity to do that, you will get shows like this one live because we are live on the nights that we broadcast. But also, you will be able to go back and watch all of the previous content, all of the previous shows that are much enlightening, just like this show here is tonight. And so I want to thank what you guys should have gotten tonight from this message from Chase is that you are who you are. Being who you are makes you who you are. But
Yes, indeed.
also, when you get out there and you're actually doing what you want to do because you say you need to accomplish what you need to accomplish, sit down and figure out that plan and execute it and go out there and just make it happen. But the most important thing is giving back to the community and pulling the community along.
Yes, sir.
Because when you know where you came from, you always know that that community, if it raised you, there is a debt that's due. And I'm sorry to use the term debt, but it's true because as they put into you, you need to give back into it because we need to keep it strong and we need to keep it maintained. So I want to thank y'all again for watching. I want to thank Chase and If you guys will please join us again tomorrow night, as we have another great show here on America in Black and White, where we will continue to color conversations on the canvas of America. I'm your host, Charles King. We're signing off. You guys have a great evening, and we will see you tomorrow night. Thank you all, and